Have you ever stood at the crossroads of life trembling, staring down two roads you cannot see the end of, one full of promise, the other shrouded in mystery, and whispered through your tears, God, are you really leading me? Have you ever felt like a ship drifting on an endless ocean, crying out into the storm, wondering if heaven hears, if your compass still works, if your captain is still steering your soul? Some of you are there right now. You're desperate for direction. You're tired of confusion. You're worn down by false signs, shattered hopes, and the silence of unanswered prayers. You want to know, not guess, not assume, not wish. You want to know that God is directing your life. And let me tell you today, with every fiber of fire in my bones, He is. And I am going to show you how you can know it beyond a shadow of doubt. But be warned, child of God, this isn't for the faint-hearted. It's not for those who want easy answers and convenient signs. No, this is for the thirsty, the desperate, the broken, and the bold. For those who are ready to go deeper, to see past the fog, and to walk hand in hand with the invisible God through the valley of uncertainty into the mountain of purpose. Let me take you back to a story, one that lives in the pages of Genesis but echoes in the hearts of every soul seeking direction. Abraham was called by God to leave his homeland, his comfort zone, his security, and all God told him was, go to a land I will show you. No map, no coordinates, no timeline, just a voice, just a promise, just a direction. Go. And he went. That's what faith looks like when God is directing your life. You don't always know where, but you always know who. You may not see the road, but you feel the hand. You may not understand the season, but you trust the voice. If you're waiting for God to drop a flashing neon sign from heaven saying, this is the way, you might be waiting a long time. God doesn't always lead with signs. He leads with surrender. Psalm 32:8 says, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye, not with lightning, not with earthquakes, not always with dreams, but with His eye. Do you know how close you have to be to someone to be guided by their eye? You can't be at a distance. You've got to be face to face. You've got to be intimate. You've got to be still enough, close enough, humble enough to look into His gaze. So many people miss the direction of God because they're chasing the spectacular and ignoring the still. They want the burning bush, but they ignore the burning in their hearts. They want the Red Sea to part, but they miss the whisper in the desert. But when God is truly directing your life, it is not always loud, but it is always clear to the surrendered soul. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. Oh, how many of us are leaning on our own understanding and wondering why the path looks crooked. You're trying to understand it all before you obey. You're trying to see the whole picture before you take the first step. But faith doesn't work that way. God says, acknowledge me in all your ways. Not just your church ways, not just your spiritual way, your career ways. Acknowledge Him when you're dating. Acknowledge Him when you're deciding. Acknowledge Him when you're discouraged. Acknowledge Him even when He seems silent. Because when you do, He will begin to direct your steps in ways you didn't even know He could. There's a supernatural GPS that activates in the heart of every submitted believer. It's called the Holy Spirit. And when He lives in you, He doesn't just comfort you. He guides you. Romans 8:14 declares, "For those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God." Are you led by your emotions, your logic, your fears, your friends? Or are you led by the Spirit? The Spirit of God leads in peace. Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." That word rule in the Greek means to act as an umpire. Let peace be your umpire. When peace leaves, something's wrong. When anxiety rules, something's off. When confusion dominates, take a step back. Because when God directs your life, He does it with peace that surpasses understanding. Not peace that makes sense, but peace that makes faith. Let me tell you something that may shake your theology. Sometimes, the clearest sign that God is directing your life is that everything around you is shaking. Yes, you heard me. Hebrews 12:27 says that God shakes what can be shaken, so that what cannot be shaken may remain. When God is directing your life, He often tears down your plans so He can rebuild His. He allows doors to slam so you won't walk through the wrong one. He allows people to leave so you'll stop leaning on them instead of Him. He allows breakdowns to position you for breakthroughs. Oh, don't you see? Don't you feel it? You didn't lose your job by accident. That relationship didn't fall apart just because that dream didn't die without purpose. God is not just watching you, He is working on you. He is not a passive observer, He is an active shepherd. Psalm 23 doesn't say He suggests paths. It says He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. That means your direction is not based on your name, your desires, or your feelings. It's based on His name's sake. When God directs your life, your story becomes a stage for His glory. Your pain becomes a pulpit. Your detour becomes divine. Just ask Joseph. Thrown in a pit, sold into slavery, lied on in Potiphar's house, forgotten in prison. Yet in the end, he could look his brothers in the eye and say, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Genesis 20. That's divine direction. That's what it looks like when God is the one writing your story. He doesn't just reroute your life, He redeems it. But here's the hard truth. God's direction often feels like rejection before it feels like redirection. You ask Him for promotion, and He gives you pruning. You ask Him for marriage, and He gives you isolation. You ask Him for purpose, and He gives you process. Because God is more concerned with your becoming than your arriving. You may be walking through fire today and asking, "Where is God?" But the fire is the very proof that He's refining you. Isaiah 48:10 says, "Behold, I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction." You are not being destroyed, you are being developed. You are not being forgotten, you are being forged. When God directs your life, He doesn't just lead you to green pastures. Sometimes He leads you through the valley of the shadow of death so that you will fear no evil and know He is with you. Listen to me. God's direction is not always about a place. Sometimes it's about a person. He will lead you into seasons that make no sense so you can discover who He really is. He will block your path to idols. He will disrupt your comfort to bring you into covenant. Because His goal is not to make your life easy, it's to make your soul holy. Some of you are asking for clarity, but God is asking for closeness. You want answers, He wants intimacy. And until you surrender fully, you will always question His direction. But the moment you let go, truly let go, and say, "Lord, not my will, but yours be done," the divine alignment begins to unfold in your life that no devil in hell can stop. God's direction is not always revealed in the moment. Sometimes it is only understood in hindsight. That's why we walk by faith, not by sight. That's why we cling to His Word, even when the way seems dark. Psalm 119, 105 says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path," not a spotlight. A lamp, that means He shows you the next step, not the next 5 years. You obey today and He reveals tomorrow. Look at Moses, standing at the Red Sea with Pharaoh behind him and water in front of him. Did he know what God was about to do? No. But he stood still and watched God move. And that's a word for somebody tonight. Stand still. Don't rush ahead. Don't panic. Don't manipulate. Just trust. The God who brought you to the edge is the God who can split the sea. When God is directing your life, there will be opposition. The enemy will attack. The storms will rage. The doubts will whisper. But you will have an inner confidence that cannot be shaken, a fire that cannot be quenched, a peace that defies logic, because you know that your steps are ordered. Psalm 37:23 says, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and He delights in His way." So stop doubting, stop hesitating, stop second-guessing every closed door. Start trusting that God sees the end from the beginning, and He is not lost even when you feel like you are. The God who directed the ark across the flood, who directed Israel through the wilderness with cloud and fire, who directed Paul through shipwreck and prison, is the same God directing your life now. He is still speaking, He is still leading, but the question is, are you still listening? Are you close enough to catch the whisper? Are you surrendered enough to obey even when it doesn't make sense? Are you faithful enough to follow when the path is lonely, long, or hidden? Because when you truly yield, something glorious begins to happen. You begin to live not by luck, but by leading. You wake up with purpose. You walk with confidence. You wait with patience. You weep with hope, and you war with peace. Because you know deep in your spirit, no matter what it looks like, God is directing your life. And nothing, no devil, no delay, no detour can stop a soul that is led by the hand of the Almighty. So lift up your eyes, dry your tears, square your shoulders, and keep walking. The one who called you is faithful. He has not abandoned you. He has not misled you. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are being led step by step, day by day, from glory to glory, from faith to faith. And yet, beloved, even in the thickest fog of uncertainty, when the future is a dark hallway and every door looks locked, there is a still small voice whispering through the chaos. This is the way, walk in it. Isaiah 30:21. That is how our God speaks. He does not always shout through thunder, though He can. He does not always shake the earth beneath our feet, though He has. But often God directs us through quiet conviction, holy interruptions, and divine discomfort. And you must be spiritually alert enough to discern when the detour is not the devil's distraction, but God's divine direction. There are times in your life when God will disturb your comfort to deliver your calling. Don't mistake closed doors for punishment. They're often redirections from a loving Father who sees what you cannot. You prayed for clarity, but when the opportunity fell through, you cried out in confusion.